All right, guys, brand new project, and I am so pumped about this one. You ready for it? Here we go. Boom! Half pipe, y'all. Okay, so this half pipe is 4 foot by 16 foot. It's absolutely massive. Found it on Marketplace. They're just giving it away for free if you come haul it. And I mean, I can see why. There's some rot. The bottom's probably all shot. All the decking's shot, but frame's good, transition's good. Most of the 2x4s are good, and it's gonna be a fun project. So here we are, taking it apart. Got some solid help today, and we're gonna haul off the bad stuff and salvage what we can, but we got a good start. So here we go. Okay, so getting the decking off was really just half the battle. It was pretty rough, and realizing that there was not as much salvageable stuff as I thought there was going to be, that kind of sucked. But we did get it apart. Also, my helpers are amazing. Shout out to my father-in-law and to Lane. Could not have done it without them. They had to talk me off the ledge because I really wanted to give up on this thing, but we did manage to get it apart. And that was not an easy task. You can see here most of the decking, actually pretty much all the decking. We saved some of the transition pieces, but really it was shot. Also lots of spiders, brown recluse, black widows, not fun. Just like that. Boom, that's the scrap pile. Good piles in the truck already. Woo, my goodness. Here we go. And there it is. The good stuff and the junk stuff. See, we built walls because they're so smart. Good night. This is just silly. We did it though. Woo, we did it. Good job, Lane. And there it is, 5 hours later. Kind of sad that that's all the wood we saved, but hey, better than nothing. Still a good project. Okay, so it's been a few days, been probably more than a few days, since we got the wood home, and I've had to cover it up because we've just had a ton of rain. So got it all covered up here, and we're gonna see what we can salvage. Build some quarters today, hopefully do more than that, but at least get some quarters built. I've got some ideas. We're just kind of put it together. So let's make sure this wood has, ooh, frogs. Hello, frog. There it is. Anyway, let's get this uncovered and see what we're working with here. Little baby frog. Okay. Yeah, wood. It's still there. It doesn't seem completely soaked. So what I kind of ran into when we were taking the half pipe apart was that most of the decking was just wrecked, and probably a lot of the 2x4s too, in the same boat. But I'm trying to salvage the transitions because I know their transitions were pretty good, although I am going to modify them a little bit. They were decent, and so I don't want to recreate the wheel. I mean, it's kind of worse for wear, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll try it out, and if I don't like it, I'll just swap them out with some new 3/4 inch decking, and we'll just go from there. But you know, that stuff ain't cheap. It's like 40 bucks a sheet, and I'd need 2 of them. So if I can save 80 bucks, then why wouldn't I? But there it is. Let's get it over to the shop and get some power tools going. All right, so here's one half of the transition. They had it at 4 feet, and that's just a little too tall for my boys, and probably for me because I'm old. So I'm gonna chop it down to 3 feet. Keep the same transition, and I think we'll be in a lot better shape at 3 feet. I could go lower, but I'm afraid if I go lower, we're gonna get into it and be like, man, I wish we had a little bit more. So 3 feet it is, and we'll just work with that and see what we're looking at. So let me chop these puppies down, and I should be able to still use, that's the beauty of using this. That's kind of why I want to save these transitions is, you know, it's already got all the 2x4. It's got the holes, you know, it's got all the spacing. It's all right. I mean, that's pretty rough, but we're gonna work with it, and we'll see how it looks. The other one's not as bad, but let's chop her down to 3 feet and go from there. Okay, so my edges here are not perfectly lined up. Now it would probably be okay. It'd probably be okay. Again, I'm still not super sold on these edges here, but we're gonna see how it goes stability wise. So anyway, you can kind of get in there and see, got some edges there. So I'm gonna sand them. So here's what that looks like. All right, so here you go. You can see here, it's not perfect, but it's definitely a lot better. It's at least even. There's still a few kind of minor bumps, but definitely nothing like it was. Down here is still not fantastic, but that's not gonna do a ton. There's gonna be a frame anyway. So the great thing is that you can see that even though the outside looks a little rough, the inside is all still good and clean. When you sand it down, it's not all rotted. So good news, there's a few spots, but you know what, we'll live with it for now. So I started to set it up here in the shop, and then I decided, you know what, this would be better to do in place. So we moved out to the concrete pad. This concrete pad was already there, and it was awesome because it was level for the most part, and it was just a really good space, and the space just really worked out nicely. So I had my helpers here holding the 2x4s in place. Again, the nice thing about using these pre-made transitions was that the markings were already there, so I knew exactly where they needed to go, and they all seemed really good and straight, and that was awesome. Okay, so there's one skeleton for a quarter done. Just a note here, I'm gonna have to do the coping later, so I just kind of framed it up temporarily, and then I'll have to adjust these when I'm ready to do that, kind of notch it out. There's a whole science behind getting it right, but for now it's just the skeleton is framed up. We got this space here to work with. It's 20 feet, so I'm also going to probably extend the platform. I want probably 2 feet, and I've got framing stuff to do that, so I'll just extend that out. I'll modify all this too and to get that extended out. Right now I just want to get both quarters laid up, and then I've got some stuff for the flat bottom here that hopefully I don't have to modify too much to get it to work. So I'm just going to get the other quarter laid up here, see what kind of flat bottom we're working with, see what kind of modifications we need to make, and we'll go from there. Also, I mentioned building on the pad was better, yeah, because I did one in the shop, and it was an absolute pain to move out there, but we got it done with the dolly. We got it moved in place, and actually the pieces that they had been using for the decking actually ended up being perfect for the flat bottom. Don't know how that worked out. It was pretty incredible. I was able to just use those two pieces, and it just went together like magic. Pretty unreal. Sometimes things just go in your favor, and it was pretty awesome. So we take a win where we can get one, and it came together. Again, I was just really shooting from the hip here, so hopefully it worked out. And it came together. It looked great, and I was pretty pumped at this point because it felt like a lot of progress. Okay, we got a skeleton. Got the flat bottom. Kind of worked out. This was like I don't remember if this was a bottom, like a flat bottom from the other ramp, or if this was like a top of the other side, but anyway, I know this was the top deck on one of them, so it came together nicely. They fit the space here, left me some space here to extend the top deck and still be on the concrete. So again, we still got to deal with coping, but we got us a skeleton, so that's pretty awesome. And yeah, 8 foot wide, 3 foot tall, and I haven't measured it yet, actually. Let's get the tape measure out. Okay, so yeah, we're right at 19 feet. That's kind of what I was gonna guess. So yeah, right at 19 feet. Just eyeballing it obviously here. So the flat bottom hopefully is enough. Otherwise we're gonna have quite a bit of speed, but I think 19 feet will be okay. I was originally thinking 20. So if we add about a foot on here, maybe or half a foot on here, half foot on here, we should be in pretty good shape. So next stop, what's the next step? Let's see. Next step was doing the top deck. So again, I had to take the framing off here, and this is one where I had to actually build the top decking. I just actually took some framing, cut those down just to fit the space. that side I was able to make 2 feet, and so I was able to build that, and then I would get it supported. Okay, so now I've got this kind of braced. Something important to know: if you're looking for perfect dimensions and exact angles and stuff, you're not gonna find it here. I'm much more of a rough it together kind of guy. Notice my framing is about like that. Anyway, so I had to extend out the platform there because I really wanted this to be at least 2 feet. I would have gone longer, but I'm running to the edge of the concrete there. So rather than try to go into the grass and worry about it rotting and being uneven and all that jazz, I just used what I had. So I got 2 feet, so it's 24 inches all the way back there. So that platform should be good. I use these as bracing. I'm also gonna put a railing across so that nobody falls off. So that'll be awesome. And then I've got the same over here. But I didn't go a full 2 feet on this. I just did, what did I do? About 20 inches. So it's 4 inches shorter on this side. Not a problem. We'll just mostly start on that side. It'll be all good. But now I've got my coping marked out. So I'm gonna chop those. The shop that has the coping is closed today. So bummer. I'll have to catch that later. If I get real ambitious, maybe I'll just put some PVC in its place for now and see how it goes. But yeah, I think the next step is going to be decking. I'm going to chop that piece off there. That's just kind of a brace right now. And yeah, she's taking shape. Pretty awesome. I'll do the railings when I'm all done. But yeah, decking is going to be next, I think. So, whew, it's taking shape. It looks like a ramp, huh? So this is where we got the end of the first day here. Everything's all framed up. This PVC here was what they had used on the ramp that we actually took apart. This isn't going to be used. This was just up here to kind of mock up. This is actually smaller than the metal pipe that I'll have. So just there to kind of mock things up, get an idea what's going on. But I've got the posts for the railing we'll be putting up. Everything's kind of ready for decking, which is awesome. My advice would be don't do this when it's 100 degrees out. I pretty much wiped myself out big time today, so that wasn't very fun, but I'm good now. Rehydrated. Stay hydrated, folks. Anyway, yeah, railings are up, pretty sturdy. I kind of squared it up as best as I could and did some measuring. I'm gonna have to either add some boards or do some cutting. We'll figure it out. But yeah, there she is. Yeah, pretty excited about it. I might put, I don't know, we'll see. I might put some bracing across here just to have a little bit extra support. Might do that. Might do some bracing. Anyway, she's ready. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get some decking. The cool thing is, up to this point, I have not had to spend a dime. This was all salvaged. There was a ton more that went into the burn pile, and I just actually had to clear the trailer off and throw it in the burn pile, and that was not fun. Like I said, 100 degrees, not great. But I'm pretty pumped that I have not had to spend a dime up to this point. And that will change now because I'll have to get all the decking, and you know, plywood's expensive, so that will change. But yeah, I even salvaged all the screws, which is pretty sweet, you know. Still got a whole bunch of them, you know. Even salvaged all these screws. Pretty crazy. But yeah, she's looking good. She's gonna be ready to go. And I'm hoping that flat bottom distance is just right. If not, we'll figure it out. But there she is. And we're about ready for decking now and coping. Okay, so I may have mentioned I'm not a perfect dimension kind of guy. Coping here is going to be a perfect example of that. So again, never done this before, but I ended up being able to fix my mistakes. That's the beauty of being a rough it in guy, is you learn to work around your own stupidity. But I used some shims here because it wasn't out far enough. You've probably seen videos, if you've been watching, learning how to make a half pipe. If you haven't, what you want to do is you want to get the amount of thickness that you're going to have on it. So my top deck here, for example, is gonna be 3/4 inch ply. So I get a piece 3/4 inch ply and I set it on there. And the ideal amount, I'm told from watching other videos, is about 1/8 of an inch of pop. I think we're pretty close to that. And then here I'm gonna have 2 sheets of 3/8 for the time being. And again, before I cut it, I kind of measured. Again, it's not beautiful, it's not perfect. I had to move this up a little bit to get it the height that I needed it to be. But again, it's all just about adjustments. And I'm also working with somebody else's work here, so I'm a rough it in kind of guy, and that's exactly what we're doing here. But anyways, my coping should be just about right now. Right now, you might notice here, I'm using PVC. I'm kind of impatient and not really knowing what this thing's gonna look like when it's done or how permanent it's gonna be. I just couldn't bring myself, number one, to wait another week to get the steel coping, but also I just really wanted to get this thing going, and I wanted to start just with some PVC. But this is a 2-inch Schedule 40 PVC. It's pretty thick stuff. I'm not gonna probably break through it too awfully quickly. It's gonna be the exact dimensions of the steel coping when I get it. So right now it's gonna be pretty solid. It'll be just fine for what I need to. Now I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do for actually getting this so that there's not a whole bunch of holes here. What they had done here is they had done the drill through and then drill this, put your screw head through there and then screw it down. I hate that because you're gonna get your trucks caught on that and it's just gonna be annoying. So what I'm gonna do instead is a little trick I learned from the YouTubes is I'm gonna drill through the back of this and into, hi buddy, I'm gonna drill through the back of this and into it, and then I'm gonna use some hook bolts. I don't know what they're actually called, but anyway, they're gonna bolt through back here and it hooks in, and then it's gonna tighten down here with a washer. So it looks like it should hold just fine. We're gonna find out, but again, nothing's permanent. This is just to get us going, and then we're ready for some decking, and we'll see how that goes. So anyway, that's the coping update. Okay, coping is clamped in place, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the back side here, and I am going to drill up and through all this stuff and into the coping. Okay, and now we unclamp it, and you should have holes there, right? There and on that side. So now we take our hook things here and should be able to get into there and inside there, in theory. There we go. And now that's hooked there, and we'll be able to drop that bolt back through our hole and tighten it down. All right, so these are 3/8 inch holes, by the way. Way through there. Boom. Held in place. And there we go, we'll crank that down, and that should, in theory, mean if you need to replace your coping, you undo 2 bolts, or you take the top deck off, you undo 2 bolts, pops out, you replace it. Pretty simple idea, and it should, once it's tightened, be locked in place pretty good. If you need to, you can add another one in the middle, but we'll start here. All right, and then we work on the other side, went ahead and put the shims in and then used a scrap piece there for my adjustments. I undid the top stud there to move it up in place, just to hold the coping in place. Also, when you put the stud that direction, you're gonna need to put another 2x4 the other direction just to stabilize it. If you don't, it's gonna wobble. Okay, yeah, that coping is not going anywhere. It is on there. And before you say it, I know PVC is not the answer. This is a temporary situation. Remember, we are restoring this ramp or salvaging this ramp I mean, you saw the condition it was in before. I think it's pretty impressive that it's come to this point with minimal modification. Again, PVC, not the permanent solution, but it is the current solution. And check that out. I mean, regardless, proof of concept, that works just the same. Drilling through, if you're drilling into steel coping, that is pretty sick. 2 bolts. They're J bolts. I looked at the sticker. They're 3/8 inch by 5 inch. Could have obviously gotten away with a little shorter, but you know, I was just kind of eyeballing it in the store. So anyway, 4 of those puppies, 2 on this side, 2 on this side. Coping is good. So next, decking, top decking. Do you want to do top decking? Or do I want to go ahead and get started on this? Let's check it out. Yeah, you'll see in just a second. All right, so clearly I went with the decking surface first. We're using 3/8 inch ply 4x8 sheets, so the width is perfect. And we start on the one side, make sure that thing is nice and even. Again, because I dropped the height of the transition down from 4 feet to 3 feet, the 2x4s did not line up perfectly with the ply. I knew this was going to be the situation, so I added in another stud across there so that we didn't have the sheets meeting on one stud, but each sheet started and ended on its own stud, so that you didn't have that weird crease where they were trying to share one stud. Also here you can see I'm using a little piece of stripping there, a little piece of wood, about 2 inches wide. So what I did there is I actually took that and I marked where all of the studs were so that I didn't have to make sure and guess or run a chalk line. So that's my little magic stick. Thanks again, Keen Ramps, on that little tip. Saved me a ton of time, but that way I knew I could just lay up that stick. I knew where the studs were going to be, and I wouldn't miss them about 90% of the time. Of course, you're still going to miss every now and then because they're not always going to be right where you think they're going to be, but you just work with it. So again, making pretty quick work. This is where we moved to the flat bottom, and then the studs were in completely different orientation. I did not go ahead and put the studs, the braces across the bottom there, but it's been totally fine, I can tell you now. So again, working on the next side. I'm absolutely dying here. I'm working by myself. My kids would come out and help for about 10 minutes and they'd be totally cooked in the sun. So I was just rolling with it. Again, doing the same thing here. I added in another 2x4 so that they started and ended on a stud rather than trying to share one, and you just got barely any that you can catch on either one. So adding more studs in, not an issue. Had plenty to work with. And now we're coming up to the final sheet here. And there it is. Got that final one in place just as we were losing daylight. It was pretty incredible. I really wanted to skate it, but again, 3/8 inches, about 225, probably 230 with clothes on. So it just was too thin to be able to do anything with. So I would have to wait until the next day, but it still was looking awesome having decking on there. Day number 563. I don't know, I've lost track. Anyway, last night got the first layer of decking on, and that was pretty awesome, but it's really thin. That 3/8 is just real thin. So working on the second layer now. Started with a small piece to kind of space the joints out, make sure they're not overlapping and cause problems. So got the first one on there. Feels a lot sturdier, to be sure. So hopefully these will go faster, and then we'll be able to do the top deck and then maybe take her for a little test spin. You just never can tell. But yeah, hopefully this goes a lot faster. We shall see. Okay, I didn't film putting the rest of the sheeting on there. It was way too hot. My phone was overheating. But here I am putting on the top platform, and it was finally done for now. Okay, we got an empty trailer, which means we got us a half pipe. Man, how cool is that? Definitely still some refining to do. We got the tops on. They're not screwed down, but they're on, and the top railings have to go. I probably am gonna get a skating surface, maybe some birch for the top, just to kind of smooth things over. Somehow, again, I'm telling you, no perfection over here. Came up just about 2 inches short, 1.5 inches short. Story of my life. Anyway, was able to use some of these shims. Handy dandy shims, man. You figure it out. Redneck ingenuity, you make it work. Anyway, yeah, I gotta get these down. I think the top of the coping's good. I think with that sheet of birch, the front of the coping should be great, but what do you think? Should I skate it? I think I should do that. Okay, we got my full permission to laugh if and when I eat it. Woo. Let's check out this transition, huh? Moment of truth. Oh God. Woo! I got scared. That's gonna take some practice, but proof of concept, it works. Oh, side note, I also feel like it's worth mentioning that it is 103 degrees that I've been doing this in. Thanks, Kansas summer. Man, crazy, 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 crazy. Still a little bit more to do, but this is pretty wild. And this was the moment that I had waited for. It made all of the sweat and blood and probably a few tears worth it. Man, watching them push around on the ramp was the most incredible feeling. Just the coolest thing. I would have done anything to have a half pipe when I was their age. And so watching them jump on it and just explore and be crazy and just have fun was awesome. And then of course I had to try it out. There was a little bit of creaking going on here, so I knew it needed to be stabilized a little bit, but man, it was fun. Every time I walk away from the ramp not injured, it's a blessing. And then my son on the first night, I literally had to drag him off the ramp, watch that sunset, watching your kid push around on a half pipe and learn to pump and learn to move. There's just literally no better feeling for me. I mean, this was just a cool moment. And then of course, my 6-year-old learning to drop in on his rollerblades. Okay, so a little update. We've skated this for several days. My boys are absolutely loving it. It is pretty awesome. But we've got some rain coming. We already actually had a little bit of surprise rain, and the sheeting definitely has some areas where it's getting a little bit uncomfortable with. So it was time to put the final sheet on, but I took some caulking and kind of put around the edges there, just to kind of try to keep water out, because you know I'm putting a top layer on. We're gonna take some precautions, but never can be too safe. So got that done there. Anyway, I'm using 1/4-inch birch. It's what the guys at Keen Ramps recommend if you're not going to use skate light, which is, you know, 150, 200, whatever dollars a sheet, which is insane. This 1/4-inch birch is recommended because the layers between are, you don't see any of the weird gapping like you see in some of the ply, like that. Water can get in there. Don't want that. Okay, another little tip I learned, I believe it was from Keen Ramps actually, was when you're dealing with two side-by-side sheets like this, you want to lay up the first one and just tack it in the middle with a screw. It's not tightened down at all, so it can swivel, but put it in the top middle, because that's going to allow you to adjust and make sure your sheets are going to line up, and you're going to have a good tight seam in the middle, like on this side. You don't want a gap there, because that is not fun, and then also water is going to more easily get through. So a little tip there. So working on getting these lined up, just thought I'd mention that. There it is. So we got our birch layer on. Everything looks good. It's even. Gaps are good for the most part. This bottom piece was kind of a pain. Gave me a few fits, but it's okay. Not a big deal. It's not a big crack. So we got good there. I think we're pretty good with the coping. I'm going to test it out and we'll see how it is for realsies. Last thing's paint. This is it, y'all. Final step. We're gonna get this thing painted up, and it's final for now. I'll get it all hopefully a little bit more rain-proofed and ready to rock and roll. So almost to the finish line.
Okay, so yeah, I could have used a roller, but ain't nobody got time for that. I was trying to get this thing done, and the sprayer helps save my back. I think I'll mention that in just a second. But anyway, we're spraying along. We're getting it painted up white. I went with an exterior latex paint. I don't know if latex was the right move or not. It actually ended up adding kind of a texture to it, which was nice. I hated covering that birch, but it just needed to be done, and it was the right call. Probably could use another layer, and I probably will have to do some more to it as the boys have skated it and left some marks on it. It will probably need a little bit of continual work, but it actually looks pretty nice. Looks nice and clean. You'd never know it was in the condition it was before, so that is a big time win.
Okay, and there's the paint. It's still a little wet, as you can see in some spots there, so I'll let that dry out. And yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, I hated to cover up that birch because I really loved the color on that, but ultimately it's about protection, and adding an extra layer of some exterior paint on there is just going to help the water to beat up and roll off rather than soaking in. So it looks a lot better from farther away. Again, remember, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not a perfectionist on paint either, so just kind of get it done. And as you can see, I'm a little bit covered here. So that sprayer uses a lot of paint, but man, does it save saves my back from having to roll, and just saves time, and it's pretty awesome. I love using that thing, although it was giving me some fits and had to clean it out. But you know, once you get it clean and it's really going, it's really going. So I ended up going through about 1.5 gallons of paint, which is probably overkill, but I just really wanted to get it sprayed on and make sure it's not splotchy. And also, I didn't really protect the concrete because it's an old concrete pad, and you know, it doesn't bother me. But there we go, there it is. We've already been skating on it, obviously, for a little over a week, and it has been just awesome. It's pretty cool to see where it's come, and I hope that now it will last for quite some time, and that we'll be able to really enjoy it and grow with it, and hope it's gonna be fun. But it was quite the project, but you know, like most projects, just worth taking on, worthwhile, and I'm excited. So, you know, we'll still tinker with it, but for right now, it's good to go. And I guess now it can rain if it needs to. Look at those clouds, you know, and we'll see how it goes, see how it holds up. Hopefully it will, but it was worth salvaging, and from the condition it started in to this now, you know, that's pretty cool to take something. Didn't get to use all of it, but it was a good frame, and it lives on. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed following along, and I hope that it encourages or inspires you to take on a project like this, try to do something fun, and yeah, just keep building stuff, keep taking on projects. Thanks for following along. Woo! Yeah, man. Ha ha!